live. Alive and kicking. So, yesterday things didn't work out the way I would have hoped. Well, I didn't say that. They worked out the way I hoped. It worked out well. But just timing-wise didn't work out. But we're here today. We're here to join together today. And we welcome Michael in Germany. Good afternoon, Michael. John, shalom to you in North Carolina. And also good afternoon to Rabbi in Morocco joining us. Fred is in Uganda. Wow. We got from everywhere. Elise is in Georgia joining us. Simcha in Florida, welcome. Celeste, or better known as Chava, Boulder, Colorado, shalom. AJ, to remind me. Natalie, good morning to you. Also, don't recall from where. Actually, yeah, please let me know. Jackie has joined us from Charlotte, North Carolina. Eugenia is in Calgary. Shula in Vancouver. Good morning. Davida and Liba are in New York. Good morning. Rina, Boker Tov to you in Colorado. And having a terrific Tuesday is Daphne in South Carolina. Sandy, good morning in Michigan. Carmen is in Texas. Shalom. Robin in New Mexico. Diane in Arizona. Batya, Montreal. David. Mark in Santa Rosa, California. Margot is in Belgium. Good afternoon. A cool day, but sunny in New Jersey for Joseph. Welcome. Julia is joining us in Pennsylvania. Hadley is in Massachusetts, North Shore. Welcome. William in Seoul, South Korea. Welcome. And Jelimar Guillermo. I know I'm getting this wrong, in Mexico. Thank you for joining. Leah is in Florida. Good morning. Rusty in Texas. Okay. Who else? Beautiful. We have Instagrammers with us. Rachel in South Carolina. Akoy, excuse me, is in Lima, Peru with us. We have the Heat Doctor. Corals G, Yenta Telebenta. Alice is in Baltimore. Hey, Beryl. Beryl here. Okay. How do you deal with anxiety? How do you deal with a sadness? Anxiety and a sadness, it's coming from feeling spiritually less than. Feeling spiritually that you're not up to par. That you're lacking. And that's difficult. That you feel the lack in your divine service. Why is that a challenge? It's because we need to always be serving God with joy. But, one second, wouldn't it be appropriate that I should be sad about my spiritual state? Alter says, well, we got to be careful with that. If that anxiety is coming to the individual, or that downer, that sense of feeling down, is coming to an individual during your work day, during some mundane activity, we have to be wary. Why is that coming to me? Where is it coming from? Is that authentic sense of a downer? Alter Rebbe says it's not. Because why would it come to you in the middle of a mundane activity, something of a holy nature, that you want to own something that you've done wrong? It's a trick, says the Alter Rebbe, of the evil inclination, to make me feel down on myself, and in order that through that down I will actually spiral down a slippery slope. Because a person cannot, by nature, feel displeased with themselves. They need to get out of that place, that space. So what will the person do? Well, they'll either go for comfort food to make them feel comfortable. They'll go watch a sitcom in order to divert their attention from the discomfort that they're having, so they could, feel good about themselves. Because genuine sadness about your spiritual state has to come out of a place of really wanting to be attached to God. And in the middle of your business affairs, your mundane activities, it's not coming. It's not coming at that moment. Right? This is the example that he's giving. Right? We're going to give examples later, not today, but in other classes, what happens when they come in the middle of, well, we'll get there. So then, okay, how do you deal with this? You're feeling this kind of anxiety, this downer, this sadness about your spiritual state. It's coming to you not at a engaged holy time, where it's a time to think about these things. Right? There is. So Alter Rebbe says that's exactly what you do. Put a pause on it. Don't let it take you at that moment. Put a pause on it and use it at a genuine time when it's appropriate to take stock. When it's appropriate to consider your shortcomings in life, where you are spiritually, what your lacks are. Set aside an opportune time to reflect on which is interesting. What do you reflect on? Not so much on the sin that you did and how bad you are, but on the greatness of God and that to Him you sinned, which is very telling. So it's not about how low you are, but who you've affected. By doing something wrong, you have touched God in a way that is painful to God. And thereby, when you consider the greatness of God, and that to Him is who you have sinned, then you will have a genuine bitterness in what you have done, and transform the bitterness into sweetness by having remorse, right? As opposed to sadness and anxiety, now you're going to have remorse, and you'll have a bitterness, something we're going to talk about later more about concept of bitterness, but right now that bitterness will be just the opposite of being of a downer, because that bitterness then will be able to give you to change course and to deal with your stuff, own it, and then guess what? Move on. Because you have the perfect belief that God is forgiving, as we say that He's Rav Lislayach, He is abundantly forgiving, because I have now dealt with it at the appropriate time, not when it came to me, that downer, that feeling of lack, that feeling of I'm not up to par, I'm not where I should be in life, accomplishing what God needs me to accomplish in spiritual terms. Spiritual terms doesn't mean, spiritual terms means your relationships with others. Spiritual terms means your relationship within yourself, how you are, how you see yourself, what you are, and so on. So all of this then will bring to, in this process, as the Alter Rebbe says, dealing with it at the appropriate time will bring a person to actually, from that downer, the sadness, of this personal state of the individual, will bring the individual to a greater joy. Why? Because you have properly dealt with your spiritual, your inner workings in a manner that you have done tshuva, proper tshuva, and that will bring to a greater joy. Powerful. A powerful tool for our lives. Yeah, John saying that the evil inclination doesn't play fair to elicit feelings of sadness and depression in us, which we have attempt to supplant with lustful behavior. Should these, it doesn't play fair with us, John. You're right. That's why it's important that we recognize where that's why it's very important that we recognize where something is coming from. So we might think, I'm feeling not so great about my spiritual state of being, I'm feeling kind of down about it. So you might think, well, that's coming from a good place. I'm feeling lousy about my spiritual place in life. You might feel, well, I'm pretty holy roller. No, it's coming from a bad place. That's only to bring you down a slippery slope, because that feeling is coming from a negative side from the animal soul that just wants to bring you down further, because a person cannot stay in a place of anxiety, sadness, feeling down about themselves. They can't stay there. They need to do something. What that something will be to find pleasure. Find pleasure in something. So again, pleasure in the sitcom, pleasure in food, pleasure in things that are meaningless in your life, just so you can avert your attention from the feeling of not feeling good about yourself. That's all the evil inclination. And that's really important to be aware of that. What happens if you have an anxiety that stems from negative thoughts that come into your mind? Not about your spiritual standing, but you're feeling anxiety because of negative thoughts that are coming into your mind. And they're disruptive. And these thoughts, in this first instance, is not when you are doing a mitzvah, but you're doing your own thing in life, right? You're walking down the street peacefully and negative thoughts come into your mind, erotic thoughts, negative thoughts about another individual that you just saw coming on the street. So how should you deal with that sense of anxiety with those negative thoughts? Says the Alter Rebbe that you actually should be happy. Happy with your lot. Why? Because these negative thoughts, these sinful thoughts that enter the person's mind, now you can avert them. And you can actually fulfill a mitzvah. There's a mitzvah in the third paragraph of the Shema that we say twice a day. That you should not follow your heart, after your eyes, by which you go astray. The verse is not speaking about the righteous, because the righteous, their eyes do not lead them astray. Their heart is full and complete in connection to God. Who is this verse speaking about? Either the Beinoni or someone less than a Beinoni, like we are, Beinoni in training, right? That these innocent thoughts enter, innocently they enter, in other words, negative thoughts, erotic thoughts, whatever they might be. And now you have a chance to fulfill the mitzvah and not following your heart's desire, because your eyes happen upon something and you avert yourself from it. You actually fulfill the mitzvah that the Torah tells us. I might say, so, yeah, why is that going to make me happy? I mean, it's just a negative thing that I pushed away. So, says the Alter Rebbe that even when you do, when you're not doing a positive thing, you can be very happy. You give a lot of charity. You help somebody. You did something wonderful. Okay, that kind of makes sense. You're going to have joy, but enjoy in averting a negative thought. Yes, actually, that there should be a joy in that, because what are you doing? You're fulfilling what God needs from you, and there's no difference whether it's positive or negative. I might think to myself, yeah, but I should have these negative thoughts. It says we shouldn't be haughty in ourselves and think that we are more than what we are. We're not righteous, and therefore, yes, these negative thoughts are going to fall into our minds, and therefore, what we have is an opportunity to push away that negative thought, that sinful thought, with two hands, to avert our minds and to actually suppress that negativity. To suppress that negativity. And says the Alter Rebbe, and he concludes here with quite a phenomenal statement. By averting that negative thought, the glory of God rises more, and the praise of God is greater than all else. Think about it, folks. When a person has a negative thought about a loved one, or an erotic thought, right? Well, you don't go and start sharing that with others. You don't start, and you don't even share it saying, "Oh, I had a negative thought about you, but I pushed it away." You don't do that, right? So who knows that you pushed away a negative thought? No one but yourself and God. That is the greatest glory, that there is a God in your life, that you do such a thing, that God is actually meaningful to you in your life. When you give charity, there's people around looking, there's people that you're feeling maybe a little compassion. So maybe, it's got nothing to do with God. Maybe it's just because people are around you, so they're giving, you're giving. And maybe, you're praying because, the people around you are praying, whatever. There's other mitzvahs. They definitely take into consideration that there's people around us, and perhaps our commitment to the mitzvah is not the mitzvah itself. It's got nothing to do with God. Could very well be. The fact that we have a negative thought in our minds and we push it away, there's only one reason we do that. Is because we believe that God wants us to do it, and we do it. And we do it. So therefore, it says that there's nothing greater. This is a interesting. I don't know if it's from the Zohar. It doesn't bring. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it is from the Zohar. The divine satisfaction that when the Sitter Acher is subdued here below, when the negative side is subdued within us, that there God's glory rises above all, more than any other praise, and this ascent is greater than all. Wow. Very powerful statement. So, in wrapping up this point over here, we all have negative thoughts, erotic thoughts. They come into our minds, or negative thoughts about a loved one that we shouldn't have. That will happen. We're not righteous, so we shouldn't feel bad about the fact that these thoughts come into our mind. Not at all. That would be actually a sense of haughtiness, that we think that we're better than that. We're not. This is who we are. That's okay. The fact that my heart is, got negativity in it, and I can entertain a thought that, or not entertain, or a thought will come up to me to think something that I shouldn't, that's not a healthy thought. Yeah, it's going to happen. What we do with it, that's totally up to us. And that's the joy we should have, is that I have an opportunity, I have the power to overcome it. I have the power to say no to it and push it away with two hands. Unfortunately, often we kind of give up that opportunity. Often we give up and we just entertain the thought. Then that thought becomes something we start speaking about. And then, from there it just goes down and down. But if we can nip it in the bud when it comes, recognize that I can just push it away with two hands and be joyful in the moment. Joyful that I have an opportunity. Because remember, you're not doing a mitzvah at that time. We're talking about in a time of dealing in your mundane engagement. Not when you're learning Tanya. Not when you are praying. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about when you are just dealing with your day's chores, your business dealings, when you're eating lunch and the like. At those times, here's an opportunity. You can fulfill a mitzvah. That arises on high and gives divine satisfaction like no other mitzvah. Very empowering. Okay. Any questions? Now, if someone asked questions earlier, kind of lost the feed over here, I think. Let's see. Instagram. Okay. How's that? JMD. Okay. Any DVD home study Torah resources to recommend? Well, everything is online today. I don't know DVD. I don't know what's DVDs anymore. Do you mean online? Chabad.org has great stuff. I would definitely recommend. I don't know if that's what you were, if that was the question or something else. I'm not certain. Okay, Davida, you have a question. Let me see if I can find it here. What happens when one is in a depression where they find no pleasure and just lets the evil inclination win? If it's a clinical depression, so I don't have an answer, that Tanya will be sufficient. You might need a professional help if it's, a real clinical depression. You might need some medical attention. Now, medical attention is not sufficient because you need attention to the spirit too. But sometimes the spirit is not open to something, and that's why you need, medical attention to allow the spirit, the neshama, to be open. So I would suggest, that such a person, it sounds like they need some medical assistance. Often they're not open to it because they think they're just fine. And learning Tanya every day. Folks, if anybody ever wants to come forward and share their story, at which people share in TRC, which I invite you, what happens is when you learn daily, you just start to change by osmosis. Without even realizing, all of a sudden, you deal with life very differently. So I would definitely, deal with both. Anxiety that comes from pessimism, well, we dealt with that a couple of days ago, actually. Yeah, that's a good question. Goldie, where's your question? I lost the feed, Golda. Sorry, if you can just put it back in. I will do my best. Myrna, how are you, Myrna? Thank you for joining. Deborah. Deborah, I'm going to read what, if you don't mind. I mean, you posted it publicly, so I'm going to read it if you don't mind. She writes, my brother took his life because he thought God didn't love him. I've known beautiful people who didn't make it. These classes have helped them. An open mind is necessary for growth. Keep on blessing the world with your classes. Wow. Thank you. Whoa. Thank you, Deborah. That was yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. That was beautiful. Golda, what is your suggestion for a Jew who has chronic anxiety, doesn't want to learn Judaism about God? It sounds to me like that there might be an issue that might need medical attention. And if it needs medical attention, then, we need to deal with that. As Deborah, like you said, you have to be in a state of mind that you're open. These teachings, the Alter Rebbe's teachings, there's no teachings like it. It's beautiful. But it's sometimes hard to hear it. So I sometimes there needs medical attention. Of course, if someone is coming here on a daily basis and it's not penetrating, then obviously it's not good enough. If they do come here on a daily basis and it is penetrating, wow, like Deborah said. Anyways, thank you. Gillies. So many people are talking about suicide and depression because today's lesson is there anything spiritual that can explain the rise in these issues? Yeah. Thank you, Gillies. I would venture to say that the most important thing that a person wants is connection. The ultimate connection is with God, and that connection then allows us to have healthy connections with others, with our spouse, with our children, with our parents, with our friends, and so on and so forth. We want connection. God created Chava, Eve, and he says very clearly, it is not good that man is alone. Many interpretations to that. One simple one is literally alone. You have to make a helpmate, somebody you can connect with. That together they build a life, build a family, build a life together. So that's fundamental. So we live in a world today that right now I'm connecting with people across the universe. Literally all four corners of the globe, right? Of the world. Four corners of a globe. Does a globe have four corners? And why is that statement? I don't know. But you know what I mean. Everywhere. So we have the capability of being more connected than ever before, and the paradox is we're less connected than ever before, and that's why the rate of suicide is going up. How to become more connected is not by, watching more television and being on a Game Boy, or going on and shuffling with your finger on social media. That's not being connected. It's in the moment. It's just a thrill that the animal soul gets, enticement. The way of connection is through effort and work. Just like marriage takes an effort and work, serving God takes effort and work, being a friend for somebody takes effort and work to be connected. We want to have things easy, and we don't want to put the effort and work into it. And that's the only way. That's the only way. And being that life now is so much easier to have a piece of bread on your table, whereas the effort and work that 200 years ago to have a piece of bread on your table was tremendous, today it's nothing. So it comes easy, and we want it easy and easier. So we're always looking for more gadgets to make life easier. And sometimes that's good, only if it's going to now give you an opportunity to do more good. But not just I can have now more vacation, more pleasure seeking. And in the end, that pleasure seeking does not fulfill you and does not give you pleasure. Because what's your life? Where is your life? What is the value of your life? It finally comes down, gets to a person. All right, folks, we're going to do Rambam. Great to be back on track. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from my son's home. God bless you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining.